It is a few minutes to 9 p.m. right here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Good evening on this 8th day of January 2024. Once again, Happy New Year and welcome back to this program. We bring you officially the first program of the Daily Report. Power and Politics segment is back this year. And on our first segment, or on our first show tonight, we look at the latest tiff between the judiciary and the executive as well as the legislature. Tonight, we ask what needs to be done, and we shall be speaking to none other than the president of the Law Society of Kenya, that is Eric Theuri. He will be in studio in just a short while to be able to analyze and discuss what has been happening in the last few weeks, especially even as we get into the robust activities of this new year. We thank you so much for choosing TV47 to inform you. My name is George Maringa. Here now are some of the top stories making headlines tonight. Tonight, the government has announced that students who were unable to take the KCPE exams in 2023 will proceed to high school.
The president instructed us to ensure that there will be no Kenyan child who would be left behind in the enrollment to school.
A new system will be implemented for them to participate in supplementary examinations. Amidst joy and celebrations across the country for well-performing schools,
I feel very lucky to have done well in the KCSE examinations.
There is an increase in the number of students with an E grade in the 2023 exams compared to the previous year. Plus, 3 additional suspects linked to the murder of Meru blogger Daniel Muthiani to spend 21 days in custody following an order from the Kibra Magistrate Court. Absolutely. We thank you so much for choosing the Daily Report. Our SMS line is 22047. Tonight, we ask you what needs to be done to resolve the tiff between the executive and the judiciary as well as the legislature, following the sentiments, especially by President William Ruto, that some judges are corrupt, and even as his lieutenants across the country in rallies and seminars here and there, they are saying that the judiciary needs to support the executive. What needs to be done? On X, I'm at George Maringa _ on SMS, that is 22047. Start with your name, where you're watching us from, and your question or comment regarding the broadcast tonight. My name is George Maringa. Our sign language interpreter is Catherine Simaloy. Our top story tonight, where Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu on Monday officially released the 2023 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, that is KCSE results at Moi Girls Eldoret, flanked by top education and government officials after briefing President William Ruto at the Eldoret State Lodge on the results. The CS revealed that President William Ruto has promised to hire an additional 20,000 teachers in 2024. Chichi Josephine begins our broadcast tonight with that report.
Very welcome.
Katika hafla iliyofanyika kwenye shule ya Moi Girls mjini Eldoret, Waziri Machogu alitangaza matokeo ambayo yalipangwa kutolewa mnamo Desemba mwaka 2023. Jumla ya watahiniwa 899,450 waliofanya mtihani.
Very welcome.
At an event hosted at Moi Girls in Eldoret, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu expressed the hate and anticipation surrounding the release of results initially scheduled for December 2023.
I will be releasing.
During the announcement, Machogu revealed that a total of 899,000 450 students sat for the KCSE exams last year, marking an increase from the 881,416 candidates who took the exams in the year 2022.
During the 2023 KCSE examination, a total of 899,453 candidates sat the examination compared to 881,416 candidates in 2022.
The CS highlighting that 201,133 candidates, equivalent to 22.27% of those who sat for the 2023 KCSE, achieved the minimum university entry qualification.
The number of candidates who attained the minimum university entry qualification this year, C+ and above, was 201,133, which was 22.27% in the year 2023.
Furthermore, among the students, 1,216 secured an A grade, showcasing an improvement from the 1,146 A grades recorded in 2022.
There were 1,216 candidates, which is 0.14%, who obtained an overall grade A in the year 2023. Breaking down the results,
526,222 students scored a D+, slightly higher than the 522,588 in the year 2022. Additionally, 92,612 students attained C and 107,471 scored a C-, while 155,276 achieved a D and 165,861 received a D-.
Use the members.
However, there was a concerning number of candidates who scored an A, totaling 48,174, prompting Machogo to call for an immediate investigation to understand the reason behind that.
I'm also pained by the fact that a large number of candidates, 48,174 or 5.33%, still ended up scoring a mean grade of E.
The CS added that 4,113 candidates were reported for engaging in exam irregularities, leading to the cancellation of results for 4 candidates. In his speech, Machogo reiterated that the new grading system played a pivotal role in ensuring a smoother transition for more students to universities and other tertiary institutions to pursue their courses. Chichi Josephine, TV47.
Thank you, Chichi, for that report. And of course, across the day, we've seen various parents as well as guardians elated that their parents, or rather their children, their learners have been able to score various grades. For instance, Lamu Governor's son, Abdallah Issa Timami, was among the top performing students in Mombasa County with a mean grade of A, an A plane. Abdallah was a student at Sheikh Khalifa School, and he would love to join Strathmore University and study law just like his father. We also did actually earlier on see President William Ruto visit his nursery classroom in Kamagut Primary School that is in Tarbo, Uasin Gishu County. Of course, that was after he met with Ezekiel Machogu, that is the CS for Education, before the results were released. We also saw Victor Kigen from Chewoyet High School, who emerged top candidate in West Pokot County after scoring an A plane of 84 points in the 2023 KCSE results, which were released today by Ezekiel Machogu. Ian Makali Barasa from Namachanja High School scored a grade A of 82, and Namachanja High School, which is a mixed day school, has so far recorded 1 A plane and 10 A-. Now, the 2023 KCSE results were well received in many schools across the country shortly after being released by Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu. Sheikh Khalifa Secondary School in Mombasa is among schools that performed well in the coast region after 8 candidates got grade A. As Mike Kagwongo now reports, 89% of candidates at Meru Boys High School managed to get grades for direct entry into university.
Celebrations took center stage in various parts of the country shortly after Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu announced results of the 2023 KCSE exams. Unlike in previous years when results were received via an SMS platform, this time round candidates, parents and teachers access results online. Sheikh Khalifa Secondary School, which registered 217 candidates, was among the best performing after managing a mean score of 9.5 compared to 9.0 achieved in 2022.
So far we have 8. We have 4 from the boys and 4 from the girls. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and we have so many A- and B+.
And also like to thank the government for the new grading system. It has really helped to boost all of us.
Nanyuki Boys High School in Laikipia County saw 15 candidates get A, while 286 candidates scored C+ and above.
Very competitive as a school, and now that our results are really coming out to be very good, I know we'll even be more competitive.
In Meru County, 89% of candidates scored grades which will land them direct entry to university.
Nidham is a priority that we give. Teaching and ensuring that we finish syllabus in good time.
It calls for a lot of sacrifice, it calls for a lot of consistency, it calls for a lot of determination.
In Nairobi County, Dalton Mule Muindi, who sat for his exams at Kabarak High School, could not hide his delight after scoring an A-.
Ensuring that he has adequate time to study and also balancing it between work and also time to relax.
Encourage him and pray to God that the results will be good, and today I'm just so happy.
Really interested in computers, especially in the field of software engineering. So that's where I'm heading, and I'm really interested in getting through to that career.
On the other hand, Sharon Mwirigi, who sat her KCSE at Alliance Girls High School, said she wants to become an oncologist after getting an A.
The least I expected was an A-, which is what I got, so I'm really okay with it. I'm proud of myself.
In Kisii County, Kisii High School attained a mean score of 8.95 as 24 candidates out of 565 got an A. Despite challenges such as insecurity, a low number of learners and drought being experienced in areas around Kerio Valley, schools in West Pokot registered good results. Chewayit, Kapenguria and Nasikal schools are among the schools that best performed in the region.
The results that we have achieved is because of teamwork. Tulifanya kazi kwa umoja kama walimu.
Nyamparia Boys National School recorded good performance again after leading in the last year examination.
We want to say God has vindicated us. God is on our side. This is a school that respects the church very much. Celebrations rented the air in Kituro, village in Baringo County, as they celebrated Purity Cherogoni, who scored a mean grade of A+ from Alliance Girls High School in the just released exams results. In Bungoma County, Faston Nanoka, who studied under Bungoma County Scholarship Program, got an A from Kanga School, attributing his excellence to hard work at both school and home.
Ningependa kufanya civil engineering. I was sponsored by the governor.
Teachers at Namashanja High School could not hide their happiness following excellence results recorded by the 2023 candidates. Ian Makali emerged first by getting an A of 82 points.
Nilitarajia ningepita, lakini sikujua na alama ngapi, na Ningependa kusomea udaktari.
St. Anthony Boys High School, Kitale in Trans Nzoia County became one of the best schools in the region after 498 out of 499 students qualified to join university. There was excitement at Shainas Girls High School as 7 candidates got a B+, and 13 more received B+, which was heralded as a first in the school's history.
Whereas the other larger number has also qualified to join the other training institutions.
Mike Kagwango, TV47.
Congratulations to all the learners. As schools across the country begin to reopen this week for first-term studies, today parents flocked various bookshops as well as school uniform centers in a last-minute rush to prepare learners for the new term. While businesses seem to be booming for many booksellers, to most parents it is a tough time, as those who spoke to TV47 termed the CBC basic requirements tough for them, in addition to the harsh economic times being experienced. However, the government has maintained its commitment in ensuring that capitation for both primary and secondary schools is disbursed in a timely manner so as to ease the burden on parents. Our reporter Arnold Adidi tells us more.
It was a busy Monday for many parents across the country, as most of them raced against time to ensure that learners meet the necessary requirements for them to fully resume studies this week. In Luanda Town, Vihiga County, it was a bountiful harvest for booksellers, most of whom have opted to work with movable stores.
Tunajaribu kusukumana na rush back to school, but sisi hatujaongeza bei, tunaweka bei ile mzuri. At least inaweza kuwa follow kwa kila customer wetu apate mzuri. Hatujaweka bei kali sana. That's why unaona kuna flow ya customer wengi hapa.
Wengi wana flow in and out. No time for resting. So ni kila mmoja, kila mtu anakimbia hapa na pale, wanataka warudishe wanafunzi wao shuleni.
As business persons are enjoying substantial profits, numerous parents are expressing concerns about the exorbitant cost of stationery materials. They argue that the competency-based curriculum demands even more resources compared to the recently phased out 844 system.
Niko na grade 2. Sina pesa ya kununua vitabu. Vitabu imekuwa bei kali. Imekuwa kali kabisa. Sasa mnataka serikali tusaidie tupate kwa mashule vitabu.
Pesa hii nimekuwa na 1000. Imeisha bila kufanya chochote. Mambo ya CBC, mambo ya karo na mambo ya chakula.
However, it could be a challenging period for certain school uniform vendors. Despite a directive from the Ministry of Education which allowed parents to purchase school uniforms at places of their choice, some of the retailers here lament that many schools are yet to honor the directive, hence requiring parents to purchase uniforms from their respective schools, a move that is hurting most of them.
Wengi wako kwa mashule sasa. Na zetu zimezama. Nafikiri ukiangalia hapa, so unaona hii ni nguo ya shule, haiwezi enda. Utatusaidiaje? Enyewe mkubwa alilia na akatupea nguvu tupate pesa tukaweka, hakuna, vitu imezama. Tufanye namna gani? Mwingine ameniambia ataenda shule, nikamwambia enda, tutakutania huko. Mimi nitakuuzia rahisi na huko utanunua bei kali.
Elsewhere in Taita Taveta County, students from Sambweni area may not reopen schools as scheduled following the demolition of houses in the area which hosted more than 100 households. The demolitions are linked to an ongoing land tussle between residents and a private developer.
Hatuna mahali pa kwenda, alafu saa hizi watoto wetu hata hatujui wanarudi vipi shuleni, alafu saa hizi wanakuja kutuwekea beacon za nini? Hata kama ni mkubwa aina gani, hana huruma. Yeye hana huruma na watoto.
Despite the back-to-school challenges, the national government has maintained its commitment in ensuring that capitation for both primary and secondary schools is timely disbursed. National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah says that over 30 billion Kenya shillings has already been disbursed to schools across the country.
Hamna wasiwasi ya kuwa karo zitaenda juu sababu capitation ya mashule haijaenda. Nimekuambia shilingi bilioni 31 zaidi zishatumwa kwa mashule zetu zote za upili, zile shule za msingi na hata wale ambao wananufaika kwa special schools washapata pesa zao.
Arnold Adidi, TV47, Vihiga.
Thank you, Arnold, for that report, which leads us to a short break right here on the Daily Report. When we come back, we have more on the other side, including that conversation with the president of the Law Society of Kenya, Eric Theory. He's already here in our studios. That conversation is coming your way in a short while. But before then, let's take this short commercial break. We are back in a few minutes.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Said, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa.
Welcome back. We thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching the Daily Report. Drama ensued in Kisii after gunshots were fired during an event in which Kisii Governor Simba Arati was issuing bursaries. Arati's speech was cut short after a commotion in the crowd, followed by several gunshots suspected to have been fired by intruders. Several people have been reported injured during the commotion, although no official data has been released yet. Neither the governor nor the police had issued an official communication regarding the incident.
Osoro.
MCA who spoke, returned the mic to him. He spoke. As he was handing over the mic to me, I realized there was a commotion. I thought there were children chasing each other because there were babies running all over. Therefore, I had to ask that they are, what is happening? People shouted it is Osoro. And then I asked people, do you want chaos in this function? People said, responded, they did not want to see chaos. At that juncture, there was gunshots all over. I'm told a number of those shots were actually the guy who has been hit on his, I think, left ear. It was aimed at me. Therefore, people, they had to take cover, all of us, because there was a lot of shooting. I'm told there are many people who have been maimed. There are people in the hospital as I'm talking. The motive behind the shooting, because Osoro, Silvanus, had not even come into the meeting where we were. He just arrived. I'm told he pulled out the gun, started shooting. I want to understand, I want to really ask myself, are we in a law-abiding country where law must be followed, even for the civilian handlers of guns? How can it happen?
Now, 7,023 KCPE candidates who failed to sit the national exam face the risk of losing admission to secondary schools as the Ministry of Education lacks information on their whereabouts. Speaking during the release of the 2023 KCSE results, Education CS Ezekiel Machogu revealed that out of the 9,000 students who skipped the exam, only 2,000 have been traced. This begging the question, where are the remaining 7,000 students? And Rin Kilemi explores.
Besides the release of the 2023 KCSE examination results Monday, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu had another key announcement to make.
When I released the KCPE examination in November 23rd, 2023, November, I promised that the Kenya National Examination Council would administer a supplementary examination for 9,000 candidates who failed to sit the examination. Upon further audit and scrutiny of the number of candidates who actually failed to sit the examinations, the Council has only been able to trace 2,000 eligible runners.
This implies that 7,000 candidates registered for the 2023 KCPE were not identified in the government system and as a result could be at a risk of losing opportunities for admission to secondary schools.
Since the number so far located is small to warrant the national examination, it has been decided that the 2,000 candidates join Form 1 starting January 8th, January 15th, that is next week, and be allowed to sit qualifying examination later.
So just where are they?
They will either be advised to ensure they sit the individual qualifying examinations by the time they join Form 3 to enable them be registered to sit the KCSE examination at Form 4. I direct the Council to release further guidelines regarding the entry examination.
What the education boss, however, failed to reveal is the fate of the other 7,000 students who are registered in the government's portal, failed to sit their national examination, but remain untraceable. Machogu further announced that grade 6 learners who sat the KCSE exam will receive their results in the next 2 weeks. He emphasized the importance of the results for educators and parents to track the academic progress for pupils. At the same time, the first cohort of learners under the competency-based curriculum will transition to grade 8 under junior school, while another cohort will be transitioning to grade 8 in 2025 and is expected to pose a massive strain on existing infrastructure. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
Thank you, Andrin, for that. 3 suspects linked to the murder of Meru blogger Daniel Muthiani, aka Sniper, will spend 21 days in custody after the Kibra Magistrate Court granted the orders following an application by DCI, with the Kiambu Court set to make a ruling of the same application made by the investigating body to detain 5 other suspects linked to the matter. Moige William reports.
3 more suspects linked to the murder of Meru blogger Daniel Muthiani, alias Sniper, will spend 21 days in custody as officers from the Directorate of Criminal conclude the investigations. This is after Kibera's senior resident magistrate William Lokopoyot granted the orders following an application by the detectives who sought more days for them to further and conclude the investigations. The trio are Boniface Gidenji Njehia alias DJ Kaboom, Brian Mwenda alias Brayo, and Grace Kathambi Ketenji, who will be detained at Gigiri police station. In the application, the DCI averred that they needed ample time to unravel the complex nature of the murder, among which tracing the last movement of the deceased son. An affidavit presented to the magistrate sitting at Kibera Law Courts by Detective Geoffrey Tegei submitted that the sleuths have more evidence that has vital information roping in more other persons linked to the murder. It was also revealed that the phones recovered from the suspects are yet to be taken to the laboratory for forensic examinations. Tegei submitted that justice to the victim and his family will not be attained if the suspects are released before the investigations are completed. Separately, Kiambu Magistrate Court allowed the DCI to detain Kenneth Mutua, Frederick Morioki, Franklin Kimathi, Timothy Kenoti, and Morangiri Kenneth for 3 days pending the ruling of an application filed by the investigators seeking to detain the 5 suspects for 21 days to enable the sleuths to conclude the investigations.
The state will have a day to make their formal response or reply. The application will be heard on 12th of January, as this is a public interest case.
The late political blogger was reported missing on December 2nd, 2023, and his badly mutilated body was retrieved on the 16th of December 2023. A post-mortem examination conducted on the body of the deceased revealed that Muthiani died of strangulation. Moige William, TV47.
Now, the Port Victoria Court in Budalangi, Busia County, has released Vanessa Ogema, a suspect who assaulted health workers at Port Victoria Hospital, on a 200,000 shillings bond. While issuing the verdict, Chief Magistrate in Port Victoria, Ann Karemi, said that the suspect has been charged with 4 allegations, that is destruction of public property, causing disturbance and assaulting the health officers. She was later detained at Corinda Prison for being unable to pay the bill and will be arraigned in court on the 17th of this month. The prosecution side has also called for more time to investigate the nature of the case further. Now, the Judicial Service Commission, GSE, is set to construct more courts in Busia County as a way of bringing judicial services closer to the people. Speaking to press in Busia today afternoon, Judicial Service Commissioner Evelyn Olwande said the commission is collaborating with the county government of Busia to construct a court in every sub-county. Busia High Court Chief Magistrate Edna Nyaloti reiterated the challenges court users in Busia County go through due to lack of judicial infrastructural development and echoed the need to establish more courts in Busia to bring justice closer to the people.
The county government is in discussion with the court here to provide land for construction of a court in Busia, because the current court is in, I'm talking about Busia sub-county, because the current court is in Teso South sub-county. We have a court under construction at Teso North, that is Alaba. We already have the Victoria Court operational, and we are also discussing establishing courts in the other 5 remaining sub-counties.
We have problems with the infrastructure. We've been told people are traveling far distances, like the people who come from Osieko. Osieko is very far. They have to go through Bondo, then they come to either Busia or Port Victoria. Those are the issues of accessibility, and that's what the Commissioner has alluded to, that courts are going to be constructed in every sub-county to ensure that justice is brought closer to the people.
The purpose of the visit basically is to get to the ground, to get to engage with our stakeholders, to get to engage with our teams that serve people here in Busia County, to share whatever issues they may be having, whatever challenges they may be having, and to see what interventions we can put in place to address those challenges, all towards enhancing access to justice and efficiency in the administration of justice. So discuss areas of collaboration in terms of enhancing alternative justice systems. And we are told that the county government is quite active and is an active participant in establishing the Council of Elders. The Council of Elders have been trained, and we are well underway into rolling out alternative justice systems here in Busia County.
To some business news, let's make a sense of the sense where the Finance Act axe is coming down fast and fully this January, with the majority of the contentious tax measures passed mid-last year being implemented. But to ensure every last penny projected is raked in by the tax collector is the electronic tax invoice management system, set to take full effect this month as well, requiring businesses to either comply or cease operation. Our reporter Hibak Said took a deep dive into this ultimatum posed by the tax collector and brings you the following report.
Merely a week after releasing the 2023-2024 budget, the Finance Act caused quite a hubbub. In the push and pull that ensued after, with the government justifying the tax increases on changing economic times and a step towards the quest of self-sustenance and easing the debt burden. What many Kenyans might not realize is the Finance Act was being implemented in 3 phases, the very last one coming to action this month.
And now in January, 1st January, there are also some taxes that are supposed to come in. Now, the good thing about January is that the most important issue that is coming in is the issue of compliance. How the small businesses, the landlords should comply with the taxes that are supposed to be there. And if you look at what is happening is that now they are coming up with stringent measures of how businesses are supposed to pay their taxes.
According to Dr. David Kabata, an economist, a good portion of the tax cuts aimed at the essential sectors, such as manufacturing and agriculture, comes into effect by the end of this month. However, this does not necessarily reflect on revenue use.
Those of Kenyans who think that 2024 will be an easy year, economically it is not going to be an easy year unless we solve 2 problems that have been talking about. The problem of the debt and the problem of the currency. As long as we have the currency depreciation and also the problem of the debt, things are not going to shape up as quickly as people think.
This as the Kenya Revenue Authority effects the requirement for businesses to submit electronic invoices and purchases through eTIMS, failure to which businesses will have to cease all operations.
When it comes to netting in the informal sector, a lot of businesses in Kenya are informal. eTIMS is largely, it's electronic. There's a lot of technology involved. How are you involving this demographic?
What we're doing is, first of all, identifying the focus groups through the channels or the supply chain based, so to speak, so that in the course of December and now going forward, we're actually having a lot of conversations with various entities, for example, the manufacturing entities, the exporters, just identifying who are these that they're dealing with that perhaps might be having challenges in onboarding.
We know that there are people who have not been paying taxes. And I think the government is trying to bring into those people to the taxing bracket. Now, the problem with technology, and that is what I keep telling people, is in usage of that technology. It is not in adoption or implementation of that technology. The question is, have you prepared people enough to utilize that technology or to use that technology?
As far as the growth of the economy is concerned, increasing revenue collection has very little to do with the purchasing power of the local mwananchi, unless and until the spending reflects on development projects. Hibak Said for TV47.
This is TV47 Sports News. Remember, you now have a chance to win amazing prizes like an all-expense-paid trip to Mombasa Beach Hotel, Mbuzi airtime, cooking oil, bus fare and other prizes with Radio 47 and ClickBet. To participate, dial *448# on your phone and follow the prompts. To our sports news tonight, where 21 golfers made the cut to play in the third round of the 2024 Safari Tour Series being held at SIGNET Golf Club. No amateur qualified for the third round. Home player Mahid Ratta is the overnight leader after posting an impressive 5 under par on Monday. He is followed closely by Greg Snow of Muthaiga Golf Club, who recorded a gross score of 138. Samuel Njoroge of Railway Golf Club settled for third position after registering 140 points. The winner of this event will walk away with 150,000 Kenya shillings. The third round and the penultimate stage of the competition takes place on Tuesday. The top 8 players in the series will get the opportunity to participate in the 2024 Magical Kenya Open.
Played nicely today, struck the ball very well, kept myself in play, kept giving myself lots of birdie opportunities and just stayed patient, and a few of the putts dropped today. Just my putting. Both days I've hit 17 greens in regulation. Just held a few more today, hit it a bit closer on a couple of them, and just took my chances where I could. Left a few out there, there's no doubt about that, but happy with the position that I'm in. I have no expectations. The most important thing is my first tee shot tomorrow, and we'll deal with it from there.
Yetonga and Derito bagged gold in the Premier Division of the African Scrabble Championships qualifiers, a tournament held at the Village Market in Nairobi County on Sunday. In the Intermediate Division, Daniel Were emerged victorious, followed by Joan Wangare and Michael Nganga. The Open Division had a mix of students from both high school and university attending.
The tournament has been awesome. I was ready to win this tournament, and it happened in my division that I have played. I am the winner, so it's an awesome feeling. This tournament has given me exposure to other people, being able to socialize, making friends, and also knowing my weaknesses. There are people who have outshined me. Playing with my peers, also reading the words. You have to have a lot of word power so that you can be able to navigate whatever letters you have to be able to form as many words as possible.
Absolutely. It is exactly 42 minutes past there. You can pretend for a moment that you didn't notice that. A few minutes to the much-awaited interview I did promise you with LSK President, that is Eric Thaury. He's already here in studio. We shall be discussing judicial independence and rule of law, especially owing to the recent wars between the executive, the legislature and the judiciary. Of course, the executive blaming the judiciary for stalling its program. So watching the daily report, I'm going to go to the over to the other side and we'll be having that conversation in a few minutes. Do stay with us.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Kisii, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
The judiciary has been blamed recently, especially by the executive, starting with President William Ruto, who said it is frustrating its efforts. And of course, afterwards, the lieutenants of the executive as well as the legislature have been quite on a rampage, taking on the judiciary head-on. Tonight, we discuss judicial independence and the rule of law with none other than the president of the Law Society of Kenya, that is Eric Thaury. Thank you so much, Counsel, for joining us. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Judge.
Brilliant. And of course, it's your first time here, right?
Oh, yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
I want to pick your mind regarding what came to your mind when the president uttered those words last week and, sort of seemed to be taking on a war with the judiciary.
I was quite shocked by those words. Of course, we have been seeing a situation where gradually the comments that have been coming from the executive have taken on the note that the judiciary is frustrating government business. And at a certain point, we felt that that is the normal, reaction to when a decision does not go in your favor. But again, there have been one or two pronouncements before that that seem to suggest that when it comes to certain things that the executive was keen on, then they were not going to take any opposition. Of course, you remember those mambo ni matatu phrases and those kind of things. So there's been a gradual build-up on a narrative that on the things that the executive wants, it should not be questioned, and no one should challenge them. But the manner in which the president then came out, guns blaring, and making the kind of pronouncement that he was making, then even though we had seen that move towards trying to suggest that the executive enjoys a much more privileged position among the three arms of government, that for us was out of character. Yes.
What then happens, because we see the president has his legal advisors? Do you think that administration in, administration out, president in, president out, they seem to have their own moment of attacking the judiciary?
Yeah, precisely. And we attribute this to the hangovers of the yesteryears. We attribute this to the fact that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. And so in the kind of constitution that we have is a constitution that is best defined by a system of checks and balances, and that those checks and balances work best when they restrain the unbridled exercise of power. And so at a certain point, when you want to exercise power, you want to exercise it to the fullest extent, but there are limits of how that power can be exercised. And I think being reminded that that power has certain limits is something that the political class seems to have a problem with, because I think the national, the mood, our political psyche is that, everything is possible, because after all, you occupy a certain office, and so everything is possible. And I think when that restraint of power then is exercised, when other arms of government remind the other arms that this is not possible, then you have this tension. So it is a tension that we are likely to see going into the future until we get to the level where we mature as a democracy and as a country, and as and have truly dependent institutions that have come of age, and then that respect is likely to be restored.
The Constitution of Kenya 2010 that we passed as a country provided provisions, especially even is aggrieved about any judicial officer. They go through the Judicial Service Commission. Previously, we did see, even when President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president, had refused to swear in the 6 judges, Chief Justice Maraga told him that use your intelligence and then go ahead and follow the procedures. why then does it seem to be a problem to follow from the executive what is prescribed in the Constitution? Because if I have a problem with you as a judge, I will then go to JSC and report and file a complaint. Where is the disconnect in all this?
And that is a very important question.
Yes.
Because what it ultimately speaks to is the concern that all of us have. That there are very, very clear procedures that are laid out for anyone who has any allegation against a judicial officer or a judge to present it to the relevant constitutional organs that will look at it. And there is no gap in the scheme of things. There's no gap. The reason behind the establishment of the Judicial Service Commission, the reason behind making provisions that where there are complaints, they will be presented to the Judicial Service Commission. The reason why the President has representation in the Judicial Service Commission in the form of the Attorney General, why we have someone from public service, why we have someone from the Law Society, why we have someone from Judiciary, and why we have a representation from persons representing ordinary members of the public, is so that we can protect the independence of the judiciary. So it is a very deliberate scheme that is designed to ensure that you have people from diverse interests that would be able to look at a complaint and come to a very fair and rational decision. And so therefore we cannot defeat the intention of the Constitution to create a framework that guarantees the independence of the judiciary by seeking to hijack those processes and by politicizing the process. And you see, what is unfortunate at this particular juncture is that there is a wholesale condemnation of the institution of the judiciary. Would we be fair, for example, to say that the entire cabinet is corrupt? It wouldn't be fair. We have to say so-and-so is corrupt, and this is the reason why, and this is the basis why we make this allegation. But also, what is extremely critical is that in the process of removal of a judge, the president has a role that he must play. And so the natural thing to do is to wait for your turn in the queue. And the complaint will be processed, and eventually it will come to you, and you will act as the Constitution provides in terms of what your role is.
So when we then come to hear of such, accusations, such allegations, perhaps, if according to, the natural law, or rather even allegations as they were, if more than 3 people seem to be alleging something about you, then people would begin to raise an eyebrow. So does the president have a point? Is he justified to say that, whatever he's saying about the judiciary as a whole?
It's really far from it. We have to examine the role that the president plays under our Constitution. The president is the custodian of the Constitution.
And he sought to protect it.
He actually was given a sword for purposes of protection of that Constitution. That Constitution embodies the sovereign will of the people of Kenya. And the president is then the custodian of the sovereign will of the people of Kenya. So what have the people of Kenya said? The people of Kenya have said that when it comes to the judiciary and to the exercise of judicial power,
yes,
those judges should not be subject to any other control or command other than the Constitution. That is what the sovereign people of Kenya have said. And that is what the president has sworn to protect. And so when we question an action or utterances that have been made by the president that go against the Constitution, we are actually telling him that he is violating the people's supremacy, because it is the people who have decreed the manner in which judicial function and judicial authority is supposed to be exercised. So the question of whether the president can actually make this allegation of corruption within the judiciary is something that we can actually say that, given his status, given the fact that he has so many other organs and institutions that can actually look into this issue, investigate those issues, and when he finds, and then they are presented to the Judicial Service Commission, and the president acts. So the president cannot lead the charge by saying that so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so is corrupt, because that goes against the overall scheme of things. And let me tell you why this is important. The institution of the judiciary stands between lawlessness and a lawful country. And it stands in between because people have confidence that when they have disputes, they will go to the judiciary, which is an independent arm of government, and it will resolve those disputes. So for our good and for the good of everyone, we take our disputes to the judiciary. So instead of fighting, we take our disputes to the judiciary, which we believe is an independent body, and it resolves those questions. The other thing is that as a country, as we try to bring in businesses, as we try to bring in investors, the first thing they want to ask themselves is, in the event, as inevitably happens in business, there is a dispute, where do we go for resolution? So then we say that we will go to the courts. And that's why it is extremely important that the courts in any country enjoy legitimacy, enjoy public support, and that their authority is one that is not questionable and is not being undermined. So it is good for the country when you have a judiciary that people believe, one, is free of corruption, is totally independent, is transparent, and is accountable in terms of how it exercises its power. Because the moment that is not there, then what it basically means is that anyone who wants to come in puts that as a risk. And if they are proper businessmen, then they probably say, you know what, we can't go to that country. But also, it speaks to how me and you will resolve our disputes. Now, if the president of a country is saying, you know, even me, I can't get justice because this judiciary is so corrupt, incurably corrupt, that even me as the president of a country, I cannot get justice in those courts. What kind of message is he sending to ordinary mortals like you and me, who then are relying on the courts to resolve the disputes that we are having?
Because the question then comes in, Wakili, what then, where do Kenyans go to if the president would complain and say that the judiciary is, corrupt, it is hindering and hampering his development agenda? One. Two, when you look at the situations And even the people around him, if you could call it per se, seem to be agreeing with what the president is saying, and even some quarters arguing that even if the president disobeys court orders, there is nowhere that he can go.
Well, I have seen those arguments.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? It means that the president then has conducted a constitutional coup, where he has elevated himself above the Constitution.
Okay.
And that is not a healthy state of affairs for any democratic government. Any democratic government operates on the basis of checks and balances, on the restrained exercise of authority.
Yeah.
Where any person then seeks to exercise unrestrained exercise on power, or unrestrained exercise of their authority has been donated to them by the Constitution.
Yes.
Then you create a situation of anarchy. You create a situation of what we ordinarily call impunity.
Yeah.
And that impunity is extremely dangerous to a growing economy and a country that is trying to come out of a difficult period that we have witnessed. You know, one of the things that we must never forget is the history of this country. And that is why when it comes to interpreting even the Constitution, one of the things that we look into is the history of the country.
Yes.
What led people to make certain provisions as they are contained in the Constitution? What lessons? And when we look back, we see the lessons that we learned from a strong arm executive.
Yes.
The dictatorial issues that we went through with a strong executive.
Yes.
And that is the reason why the Kenyan people said, you know what, even though in an ideal situation, we have three arms of government that check one another, we are even going to add an additional arm in the form of constitutional commissions that will be checking how power is exercised.
Okay.
So that history then is extremely important as a country.
Yeah.
And as we ask ourselves just how important some of these things are.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I keep saying, that the problem with things like rights, human rights, as contained in the Constitution, they sound like catchphrases until the day it happens to you. Until the day you go to court and the court cannot enforce your rights, or you are given an order of court and somebody looks at it and says, this is just a mere piece of paper, because the authority that is supposed to be contained in the order that the court has given you has been taken away. At that point, it sinks. And for us, we do not want to get to that level where people begin to ask themselves, does it make sense to go to court anymore to resolve our disputes?
You've even had, there's, sentiments coming in. Why hire a lawyer when you can bribe a judge?
Yes, those are now the graphic illustrations of the operation of inefficiency and corruption within the judiciary.
Okay.
So the one thing that must be emphasized in this discussion is that no one should countenance or tolerate corruption within the judiciary.
So there is this statement that, Hussein Mohammed, the spokesperson, produced on the 3rd, and I'm sure you've had an opportunity to go through it. He started by saying the Law Society of Kenya has purported to advise President William Ruto on constitutionalism and specifically the independence of the judiciary. They need not. What was going through your mind, especially when you saw this?
I almost thought that it is a tragic attempt at comedy. It was a tragic attempt at trying to simplify the very, very grave concerns that we had raised. But one of the things that should not be lost is that that statement was issued on the same day that we gave our statement at about 9 p.m.
Yes.
So the speed at the rebuttal told us that the message that we had put out had hit home. And so there was an attempt to struggle to respond to it and to try and water down the very grave concerns that we had raised. And so what we have since witnessed thereafter have been these attempts to try and, justify all these comments. And I think that is what this statement was intended to do.
Yes.
To try and speak from both sides of the mouth, because the statement cannot on one hand say that we support the judiciary,
yes,
that we are going to protect the independence of the judiciary, and then on the other hand purport to say, you know what, we are also not going to agree when the judiciary is the one that is torpedoing government projects.
Yeah.
And I think it is at that point that where you begin to see where the tragic comedy is. That on one hand you're trying to say this is what we are doing, but on another hand you're also trying to say that this is not. So the point that I was making is that as a country, generally, I think every institution is struggling with the question of corruption.
Yes.
Now, within the judiciary, the question of corruption is actually much more sensitive and much more tragic, because the judges are actually priests in the temple of justice. And so they are required to be above reproach. They are required to be of the highest levels of integrity. And so therefore, any whiff of corruption within the judiciary, any whiff of incompetence among the judiciary should be frowned upon, should be dealt with decisively, and should be cut off from the judiciary as fast as it possibly can to avoid spreading and infecting the rest of the temple of justice. So that is how critical it is. And so as a society, we have continuously advocated for the highest standards of integrity within the judiciary. We have called out corruption when we have seen it, even if it is the manifestation of corruption, because sometimes you look at a decision and you can say that even though I have no evidence, the only plausible explanation as to how this decision could have been arrived at is through corruption.
Okay.
And we have seen so many of those instances, and we keep on highlighting those instances. So I think all of us have a moral duty and a moral obligation to fight corruption within the judiciary, to highlight instances of corruption within the judiciary in a manner that enables us to root out those that are corrupt within the judiciary. And that is the basic minimum.
Okay.
But the reality is that they are actually good judges, they are good judicial officers within our judiciary, and there are a few rotten eggs also. So we need to get rid of the rotten eggs so that we can remain with people of integrity. But what we are witnessing is a wholesale condemnation that is only intended to achieve the collateral objectives.
Yes.
And of course you cannot lose sight of the fact that the allegations of corruption against the judiciary are followed by a statement that says we will not allow the judiciary to frustrate critical government projects. So if the orders are not given against these critical government projects, then the judiciary will be clean. And I think that is where now it becomes extremely subjective, and the objectivity in the very good rationale of ensuring that we reduce or eliminate corruption within the judiciary is lost.
Yeah, that statement you've spoken about, that will not allow the judiciary to frustrate government efforts. Does then this prescribe a situation where we shall perhaps, maybe not, start seeing judgments and rulings and orders that seem to be going in tandem with the executive? Does such a scenario seem to be foreseen in following such remarks and sentiments?
We are going to be watching out for that. And it will be extremely, extremely unfortunate if the judiciary succumbs to this latest arena of threats and intimidation. Because then they would have betrayed the Kenyan people. They would have failed to live up to the oath that all of them have taken. And it's part of the reason why, as the Council of the Law Society did call out its members for a peaceful protest march that will be preceded by the lawyers retaking their oaths in public, so that we can affirm that as a body of lawyers, we stand ready, able, and willing to defend the rule of law, to defend the administration of justice, the independence of the judiciary, and our constitution. And so there we also expect, because to a larger extent, the members of the judiciary are also members of the Law Society, because they are first advocates before then they join the judiciary. We also expect, because they have taken a similar oath, that they will also abide by their oath. And in this process, that they will not only uphold the oath that they have taken, but they will also ensure that they act with integrity, because it is that that they are called to do. And we will be asking them as we undertake this process that they also recommit themselves to the words of the oath that they took.
Because then moving forward, even as we enter the home stretch of this conversation, I'm seeing some feedback here. Njero Muria from Chuka Tharakanithi, you're saying you're enjoying the show. Thank you so much for staying with us. Of course, keep your questions coming. There is one asking here, what happens then to judges and their independence, even as they issue their judgments? I think you've just addressed that. I was going to the point of looking at now the whole spectrum of the rule of law. Do you think as a country we seem to be taking an upward trajectory? Are we stagnating, or are we going downwards in the adherence to the rule of law?
The assessment of that largely is determined by how the state behaves and responds to court orders. And I think...
Has this government been adhering to court orders, do you think?
I think that publicly they started off on a very good note by saying, we are going to comply with court orders. We remember that there are several decisions that have been given by the courts, which, although the executive was unhappy about, and other institutions, even Parliament, they have actually largely complied with those decisions. So to that extent, we were happy. First year or the first few months of the terms of this administration. But as time has gone by, we have seen talks and discussions that tend to suggest that the law is now becoming an inconvenience on the part of the state, and they're getting extremely frustrated, and they want to, say that we will not be bound by these decisions. We disagree with them, and we will not be bound by them.
Yeah.
And so that public rhetoric
yeah.
Is one that is extremely dangerous to the rule of law in this country. And we would want to urge the executive and the entire Kenyan population that, and we have seen this happen. We have seen strong men of the law.
Yeah.
We have seen those who abused the law in the last administration.
Yes.
When this administration came in, they were running, all over the place.
Yes,
and that is what will automatically happen. If we do not support strong institutions, if we do not support the rule of law, and if we cut corners with the rule of law, it will come back to bite us at a particular point. And so I think for us, it would really, we would build this country more if we are able to say that though we may be extremely aggrieved by certain decisions that the courts will make, but we have to live with those decisions.
Yeah. On that important point that you mentioned of, the law will come to hand, those who are there right now, do you think that those that are in administration, the executive right now, realizes that, do you think?
I don't know, because you sometimes get the feeling that sometimes when people are in power, they lose sight of just how critical some of these things are. And you actually realize that they are losing sight in terms of the nature of the justifications that they give. That if you go back a month or two or a year back, when other extrajudicial measures were being used against them, they were the first
complainants.
They were at the front line of urging the judiciary to be independent. They were at the front line for urging for the respect of the rule of law. And so you find this, like a case of musical chairs, that, when it was convenient, they supported the independence of the judiciary. They supported the rule of law. They supported the administration of justice. But now that they find themselves on the other side of the decisions, then it is no longer convenient, and people are forgetting the statements that they were making when the law was being used, or rather being misused against them. And that illustrates that's irony. And so I think we need to say that at a certain point, this circus has to stop. And we have to get to that level where everyone knows that the law is consistent, everyone knows that the law will be applied to all of us equally, irrespective of status in society.
So looking at your statement, your sentiments that you're issuing, especially regarding this whole issue of the attacks on the judiciary, do you feel somewhat as a society frustrated? And what one would wonder then, where does the judiciary turn to in the wake of these new attacks on that institution? And what then does the public do? Whereas we've spoken a little bit about that, but what does then the public, in terms of mentally shifting and still having faith in this institution that seems to be attacked, especially by the other arms of government?
Yes, there is an element of frustration.
Yes.
But luckily for us, the Law Society has an illustrious history in the quest for constitutionalism, in the quest of supporting the rule of law and upholding the independence of the judiciary. So we can say that when it comes to experience with regards to dealing with those questions, that there is no institution that is as well versed in dealing with those challenges more than the Law Society. And it is now a question of going back to that history. It is a question of relying on that experience and the experience of those who came before us, who stood so valiantly in support of the rule of law and in support of the Constitution and the human rights and the democratization of this country. And to learn from their experience, to draw inspiration from the struggle that they did, and to mount the kind of struggle that that we are doing. And to that extent, then we know that the true test of loyalty, of liberty, lies in eternal vigilance. And so it is not a battle. It is actually a war. It is a process. You have to keep challenging. You have to keep challenging. You have to keep challenging, even when it is not making sense. And sometimes you may wonder, because if you look at the last administration, when especially they refused to swear in judges, there were cases after cases that were filed by the Law Society. And the issue here is one of the principle. If the principle is correct, then we support it and we say this is the correct interpretation of the law. Whether you're going to obey it or not, we will keep challenging, because the moment we keep quiet, then we become part of violators, because now we are supporting it through omission by failing to respond to it. And so I think for the Law Society, we have no alternative. We have no alternative for as long as the Constitution is under threat, for as long as the rule of law is under threat, for as long as the independence of the judiciary is under threat. We have no other obligation to speak about it and to take action and to speak and to speak and to speak until when the stones hear us.
Will the stones hear you?
Well, I think that if you look at the history of the country, this has happened time and again, but overall, the Constitution and the law has prevailed.
Absolutely. Indeed, LSK President, that is Eric Feuri, here in studio speaking to us on judicial independence and the rule of law. I see some feedback. Kabando on X saying the Law Society of Kenya is performing its statutory duty by pinpointing the executive's overreach. LSK Council under Eric Feuri is steadfastly protecting public interest, and that is how it should be. It is a noble patriotic assignment. And also Visha watching in from Rumba, watching from Nyahururu, saying you're present, as well as Njeru Muria from Chuka Tharakanithi. Simon Agakonye, thank you so much for your tremendous feedback. That's why we are in